Mike's Daily Podcast.
Welcome to Mike's Daily Podcast, the I Don't Have a Shirt On edition. It's FF episode 2048. It's hot.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
In Podcastro Valley, yes, we have this temperature that starts to soar around this time of year. And I wish I wore less clothes, so I'm not wearing many here at Podcastro Valley's Cafe anyway. What can I say? It's nice to just let the air blow my way and cool me down.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Cafe anyway is slightly underground, as nobody knows about this show. But
Mike's
we're also physically
Daily
underground, so
Podcast.
being underground means that you get cool temperatures because you're insulated by the earth. If I could, I would live underground. I would be a mole. I would be, well, not a mole, because don't they eat dirt? I don't like that idea. The other day, my lovely lady friend and I were walking over at Lake Chabot on this nice path that takes you above Lake Chabot up to what used to be that missile range. They used to have this Polaris Tomahawk something or other, the thing up there, which is completely eluding me at the moment. Anywho, this missile, and speaking of launches, that launch got postponed today. The one that was supposed to happen in Florida, we were so looking forward to that. But the bad weather made it not happen. And in fact, Bing, not to give Bing a plug, but I just did. They had a nice picture as part of when you went to Bing today. It was the aerial view of the Everglades National Park in Florida, which I have not been to yet. All the times I've been in Florida to visit my mom. In fact, we should have a podcast picture from Florida, I'm thinking. But so, therefore, thusly, henceforth.
And here's today's podcast picture.
Ford has made a police SUV that can heat itself up to more than 133 degrees. And the concept is it will kill the coronavirus. And this is in police cars for Ohio State and police departments. Worked with Ohio State and police. Oh, I don't know if it's just the Ohio State police departments, but Ohio State worked on it. Using the idea that if you heat the car up a certain amount of temperature degrees up, it will kill the coronavirus for 15 minutes. Basil's skeptical, but he has a right to be. Some people will think nothing can kill the coronavirus. Here's an interesting thought, as at some point I will circle back to... you're right, Basil, I hate that expression. At some point I will get back to the whole reason why I brought up moles digging holes. But yes, there are some people that believe this whole coronavirus thing got blown way out of proportion. And we ended up hurting and killing our economy and making it like it was 2008, 2009 again. The coronavirus did it. And if we had been a little bit less freaked out and had it a little bit more together, everything would have been fine. That, I know, totally ignores the fact that people did get sick and are still getting sick and are still dying from this thing. And we do need to take precautions. And you can feel any way you want about it, but here's the deal. This is going to happen again in the future. It may not be coronavirus. It may be something completely different. We live in a world where we have done so many crazy things, dealt with so much, we knew this was going to happen at some point. We made movies about it, for crying out loud. We made Doctor Who episodes about it. The one where Peter Capaldi, he plays the doctor, and there's this pyramid that lands, and there are these weird zombie aliens that, because the BBC said, we want to get in the zombie game too. And they said that something is going to happen bad on the earth and we can prevent it, but because you won't do this, we're not going to stop it. And that's what ends up happening is a virus gets out. And the doctor is about to destroy it and he can't see, and then he dies, or he's about to die, and then the aliens take over, and I just ruined everything. No. It was during the Peter Capaldi era, if you want to watch that. I didn't give everything away. But there are zombies from outer space. That's pretty bizarre. Science fiction. So it does seem a little bit of science fiction to kill germs. But Ford's taking that chance with their latest tech. Okay, so back to this interesting thing. We're walking along near Lake Chabot. And there is a little mole sticking his head out of the ground. And my lovely lady friend had never seen that before. And I said, thankfully, Basil the Boxer's not here, because he would have probably bitten that poor guy's head off. He has murdered moles before. Murdered gophers. He's a murderer. But as he is not walking, he was not involved in any sort of murder or crime. But he is relaxing now in this temperature where it's warm. When will it end? Hey, but spring. So summer officially is not here yet. We still got a couple more weeks, right? Isn't it June 21st or 22nd? The summer solstice, where in Santa Barbara they have a big old crazy parade. And I don't think that's going to be happening this year, though, sadly. But back to, so the podcast picture today is of something in Florida. I'll pull that, because that was a recent trip that I made. Well, a trip that I made on this date. When was that? 6 years ago? I will find that out. 5 years ago is when I went to Florida to see my mom. But I've seen her more recently than that. As we go outside a cafe anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley, where it's quite warm. So spring is a perfect time for walks. It's still spring. If you can get out there and socially distance yourself and that whole thing. Because I don't necessarily agree with wearing masks, because you can't smell anything. And then you think you got the coronavirus, because that's one of the symptoms. You can't smell anything or taste anything. But let's say you can smell things, and you smell the sweet smells of blossoming flowers. Spring can also mark the onset of seasonal allergies. And that was bugging people like crazy, because they wanted to avoid the coronavirus, so they were staying home. And I guess you could avoid allergies if you just stayed home, but they were getting it anyway. If it's not one thing, it's another. Hay fever, or seasonal allergic rhinitis is what it's called. Spring, summer, and early fall tend to be the worst times of the year for hay fever, due to sensitivity to tree pollen. Yes, it goes right through early fall. Tree pollen, grasses or weeds, airborne mold spores. Some people experience allergic rhinitis year-round, while others have it only occasionally due to sensitivity to house dust mites. Let's not even talk about house dust mites. Animal dander. Cockroaches? Cockroaches cause you to sneeze. Yikes. They cause me to get the raid. Mold spores or hidden food allergies. According to the 2018 National Health Interview Survey, over 19 million people in the U.S. over the age of 18 were diagnosed with hay fever the previous year. That adds up to like 7.3% of the population. That includes, the symptoms include runny nose, itchy eyes, mouth, nose, or skin, sneezing, stuffy nose, fatigue due to poor quality of sleep as a result of the stuffy nose. You can prevent this from happening by reducing your exposure, which that's been easy for us lately, because that's what we've been doing, is staying indoors, which is what they say you should do. Preferably where it is air conditioned, they say. That helps Also, keep windows closed when you sleep and roll up your windows when you drive. I love fresh air, though. That annoys me to even say that sentence. See your healthcare provider if your symptoms are reducing your quality of life. Your doctor may perform various tests to see what kind of allergy you have and what can be done about it. By the way, someone brought this up to me today, that doctors, health professionals are starting to see people again. They're taking appointments again, which is good. I guess they've been doing that for a little while now, but the word is getting out there and people are starting to go and see their doctors again because they were avoiding it like crazy, like the plague. Yes, that's a bad choice of expressions, but your healthcare provider may recommend you take one or more kinds of anti-allergy medications that help reduce symptoms. Note that some of these medicines may be purchased without a prescription. If allergy symptoms are severe, allergy shots that calm down the immune system may be prescribed. There you go. All right. Thank you, Costco. Oh. They're also mentioning here to fight and treat allergies using antihistamines, nasal steroid sprays. I'm not a big fan of those. Short-term use of decongestants, allergy shots, as I mentioned, yes. And sublingual immunotherapy treatment, which are tablets placed under the tongue. What? It doesn't mention anywhere here about buying Costco honey that's made locally? I always heard that's something. If you eat honey that is made by local bees, you can fight allergies that way. Well, that's pretty much the end of the podcast today. Wow. That's it. Yes, all you audio fans out there, I overmodulated a little bit just then. But my equipment here outside a cafe anyway is not the best. Let's say hi to some people. Hi, Mike. It's Benita the Rodeo Queen. How y'all doing?
It's a disgruntled fiddle player. Tell you what.
What?
I think it's great what you're doing there, telling the people about how they can help themselves with their health situations and whatnot. That's right. Tell you what.
What?
I think the Brewmaster's here.
Oh, yes, Brewmaster's back. And is there any Corona in your root beer?
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Have some right now, Mike, or I'll cut you. I'm the Brewmaster. Oh, boy.
Haha. Corona. Da-da-da-da-da-da. My Corona. Enough with the coronavirus jokes. We're sick of it. So, let's just say next show, it'll be Madame Rootabega, Valentino, and Bison Bentley. Tell me what you think about all of this. 336mm daily, 3 plus 3 equals 6. MM as in Mike Matthews daily, as in what this podcast has been now for quite a few days. We have not been interrupted much at all, which is awesome. We've been just bringing it to you daily, as the name would suggest. As the name that I picked, wow, quite a ways back. The podcast, Mike's Daily Podcast, I believe we actually started it in 2011, although I've been podcasting since 2009. And there you go. That's why we have this many episodes, 2048. Thank you for listening.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!